Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another up-to-date 8.3 Warlock PvP guide. Now in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down Demonology Warlock for you guys, talking about stuff like corruption, Azerite traits, essences, races, PvP talents, and so much more. So I really do hope you enjoy it. I just want to note that I've already created an Affliction Warlock PvP guide and a Destruction Warlock PvP guide. Both are up to date for this current patch in 8.3, so I really do hope you enjoy it. Links will be in the description down below for you guys to check them out. Also, I just want to obviously note as well that this video will be targeted towards new players who want to learn about DEMONOLOGY, and also experienced players who already played DEMONOLOGY quite a bit but just want to hone their skills in PvP right now and gain a little bit more information. But guys, we're going to jump straight into the guide. Really do hope you liked the guides recently, and let's do it, man. Alright guys, before I jump straight into my talents, I just want to apologise because every 12 seconds you're going to see a wild imp run from the right hand corner of my screen to the left hand corner of my screen, as you just saw there. Because I am playing a talent right now known as Inner Demons, so basically every 12 seconds I'm going to summon a wild imp to fight for me in combat. So basically I'm just going to passively, summon a wild imp every 12 seconds. And obviously you're going to see him run across my screen all the time. So I do apologise for that, but it's okay at the end of the day. But guys, we're going to jump straight into it, talking to you about my talents. Now, talents are a big part to an MMO. I've mentioned this earlier, and obviously, as a Warlock right now, they're definitely important because you want to go the correct build in order to push rating in PvP and just to do well in general, right? If you have the right talents, you're going to do well, and it's just going to help you, when it comes to pushing ratings, so it's really good. Now, I just want to mention, there's two builds I want to talk about. But this is the main build that I prefer to play right now. This is the build that many people play because it's just, overall really, really great. And it works really nicely with your burst. The other build that I wanted to talk about really was my Dreadstalker build. But obviously I will mention that when we talk about talents. So we're going to jump straight into it. Talking about the level 15 talents, you have a choice of Dreadlash, Demonic Strength, and Bile Scourge Bombers. Now, as a Demonology Warlock, I played this quite a bit, to be honest. Like, I've experimented with all three of these talents, especially when they were popular. Now, loads of people used to go Dreadlash and Bile Scourge Bombers. People still play Bile Scourge Bombers, but in my opinion, I don't really like playing Bile Scourge Bombers right now. Mainly because it costs 2 soul shards, and as a Demonology Warlock, you have so much ramp up time for your burst that losing out on 2 soul shards is actually quite, it's like bad for you because you've got so much ramp up and you want to be getting Hand of Gold down out as much as possible for your big tyrant. And if you use Bile Scourge Bombers within that, you're actually losing out on quite a lot of damage in my opinion. So that's why I don't like playing Bile Scourge Bombers. It's also on a 30-second cooldown. And the only really opportunity where you get to use this spell in PvP is when the enemy is stunned and don't really have their trinket. So for example, you can't just really, play this talent and hope to get away with it. You have to use like your Axe Toss, your Foul God Stun, or your Shadow Fury, or just something to stun the enemy so they take a lot of damage. But if people play Conflict and Strife, obviously, they get more verse while they're in a stun. So it kind of doesn't work out that well in my opinion now. But it can be good if you try to AoE cleave people down. Now, also, Dreadlash. This is the build that is my alternative build that I used to play quite a bit. It's the build that I wanted to mention as a secondary build if you want to try it out. So basically, Dreadlash, what this does is every time you have your Dreadstalkers out and they're on a target, they're going to now attack everybody in an 8-yard radius and deal 25% more damage to everybody obviously in that radius, which is really good. You pair this with From the Shadows. Every time you call your Dreadstalkers, and they're on the target, the target that the Dreadstalkers are on is going to take 20% additional Shadow Flame damage from you for 12 seconds. So obviously really, really nice. It's good, but I'll talk about why I prefer this build right now. And also, if you play Master Summoner, then your Dreadstalker's cast time is now instant. As I'm aware, just let me put this on. Yeah, so at the moment, it's a 1.3 second cast for your Dreadstalkers. So if you play Master Summoner, they're now instant and it costs 2 soul shards. So it's actually quite good, and they're on a 20-second cooldown, so you can actually get a lot of value from the shadows. But in my opinion, I really like playing Demonic Strength right now. If you don't know what Demonic Strength is, basically it allows your Foul Guard to run to the enemy and he does his AoE, so his Foul Storm, and it does 400% increased damage to everybody. Obviously, he's Foul Storming. So if they're stacked up, if the enemy's stacked up, it's going to do a lot of AoE damage. It can also do a lot of single target damage, and it's so good. I have this macroed right now to my Foul Guard's original Foul Storm. So this is actually a separate Foul Storm. So I'll show you how this works. You ready, guys? I will show you. So I'm going to click Demonic Strength right now. My pet's going to run in and Foul Storm. That doesn't share a cooldown with his original Foul Storm. So what I've done is I've created a macro which allows me to use my Demonic Strength and Foul Storm in one, and it actually, uses both Foul Storms. However, you can actually save the other Foul Storm for when rogues or something go in stealth. That way you can pet position your pet and actually try and get them out with the Foul Storm. So it's actually really, really great. The reason why I like Demonic Strength, is because I just think it's really good right now. It's a 1 minute cooldown, doesn't cost any soul shards, and it's super beneficial. Level 30 talents, you have Demonic Cooling, Power Siphon, and Doom. Doom is really bad right now, in my opinion. Just doesn't, give out a load of damage, so you just lose out on damage if you play it. Obviously, it has a chance to generate a soul shard, but in my opinion, I feel like Power Siphon's the best, talent here. Never really played with Demonic Cooling. It's not really my play style. Basically, if you don't know what this does, it allows your Shadow Bolt and Demon Bolt have a 20% chance to make sure that your next cool Dreadstalkers cost 1 less soul shard and have no cast time. So it's obviously okay if you don't want to play a Master Summoner, which is obviously really, really good. But in my opinion, I don't think it's better than Power Siphon. If you don't know what Power Siphon does, 30-second cooldown, instant cast, allows you to sacrifice 2 wild imps. So obviously if you play Inner Demons, you're always going to have the passive imps that keep summoning every 12 seconds. So you get a lot of value of having Power Siphon because you always have the imps that you can sacrifice. So it works out really good. And every time you use Power Siphon, it gives you 2 charges of Demonic Core. So let me use it for you. If you don't know what Demonic Core is, I use it right here. Basically, the cast time of your Demon Bolt is reduced by 100%. So basically, you get 2 free Demon Bolts to cast on the enemy. This helps out a ton when bursting because it allows you to get your Hand of Gul'dans out a lot faster, therefore allowing your Tyrant to be even more powerful when paired up with Demonic Consumption. So it works out like a charm, man. So in my opinion, Power Siphon's your go-to here. Also, level 45 talents, I've said this time and time again, Demon Skin, Burning Rush, and Dark Pact. Demon Skin's your go-to here. The absorption rate, being bigger and having a much faster recharge rate is just so much more beneficial than having a speed buff basically that reduces your health every tick it does, and then Dark Pact, which is just a big shield. So Dark Pact, it used to be good, but in my opinion now it's just not worth running. Sure, maybe some situations where you might want to absorb like a certain damage, just to try and survive in a stun or something, but I think Demon Skin is always your go-to here. I'd never switch out Demon Skin for Burning Rush or Dark Pact. Just like the Soul Leech absorption rate is just so good and it actually comes back faster, so in my opinion, Demon Skin's your go-to. Level 60 talents, I talked about this earlier. If you play the Dreadlash build, but I don't think the Dreadlash build is better than this build right now, then you would usually play Dreadlash and From the Shadows. I've seen a lot of people play Demonic Strength and From the Shadows, but I don't really... I wouldn't recommend it, if I'm completely honest. I would prefer everybody to go Soul Strike, because it allows you to get a Soul Shard, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So basically, I want to cover Vile Fiend. So Vile Fiend, I've seen a lot of people on like the 3v3 and just the ladders in general. So the high Demonology Warlocks. Loads of people have different Azerite traits and different builds they like to go, right? Obviously, as a Warlock, and as a class in general, right, you want to use the talents that fit to your playstyle so you can play the class to the best of your ability. Some people like Vile Fiend, some people prefer Soul Strike, It all depends on what you want to go. Now, the reason why I don't like Vile Fiend is because it's on a 1.3 second cast time. So you can actually get kicked on this. So if you're bursting and you use your Vile Fiend, the enemy can actually just kick you on this and you have to wait, therefore negating your time. to obviously get your Tyrant out, and actually you're going to lose imps in the process of doing that, because obviously they despawn. So the more imps you have, the bigger your Tyrant's going to be, but if there's any situation where you're in a CC effect, then you know your imps can actually despawn, so it's not that great. Vile Fiend can hit for a ton as I'm aware, but it's on a 45-second cooldown, and it costs 1 soul shard. So, like I said earlier, in regards to Bilescourge Bombers cost 2 soul shards, so when you're bursting, it actually eats up quite a lot of your soul shards, and especially if you use your Dreadstalkers as well, that's another 2 soul shards. So Bilescourge and Dreadstalkers is 4 soul shards just within 2 spells, right? And if you play Vile Fiend as well, that's 5 soul shards. So in my opinion, I don't think it's worth it. I prefer Soul Strike. It's an instant cast damage dealing ability, 10-second cooldown, and generates a soul shard. So every 10 seconds, you lash the enemy, basically dealing 11.7k shadow damage to the target. So your Foul Guard will run to the enemy basically and strike them, and dealing a certain amount of damage, and then he'll also generate you a soul shard. So it helps when bursting, 10-second cooldown, allows you to get your hand of gold downs out faster, especially when paired with Power Siphon, because you get 2 stacks of Demonic Core, therefore allowing you to generate, like 2 soul shards, and then that's 3 with your Soul Strike, so works out like a charm, man. Level 75 talents, I said this time and time again, don't go Dark Fury, it's not worth it. If you want a survivability, Mortal Coil's your play here. It makes you, heal for 20% of your maximum health, 45-second cooldown, and it's on an instant cast. However, if you're on a map, for example, where you want to line a Warlock's Chaos Bolt, or you want to line a Greater Pyroblast from a Fire Mage, or a Cyclone from a Druid, Demonic Circle might actually help you out with that. So there's some maps that you might want to transition to Demonic Circle from Mortal Coil. For example, if you're on the Mechagon map, there's certain cheeky spots where you can put your portal and you can actually line the enemy, which is really, really decent. Also, if you play on the Zoldazar map, you can actually put your portal on top. If you're playing on top and you're against for example, a DK/Arms Warrior or an Arms Warrior / Enhancement Shaman, just some melee DPS, what you can do is jump off the ledge, TP back up, and then they can't get to you for a certain period of time. Also, if that doesn't fit your playstyle, what you can also do, if you play with a Monk Healer, you can actually, put your portal in spawn, play up top, and then actually TP down to spawn with your Monk Healer, and they can top you off in HP when you're actually going to die. So it's really, really beneficial. Demonic Circle's actually really good right now. Same with Mortal Coil. But like I said, I like Mortal Coil as well, because as a Demonology Warlock, you have so much crowd control, right? You have your Axe Toss from your pet, from your Foul Guard. You have your Shadow Fury, you have Mortal Coil, you have Fear, you have Cool Foul Hunter if you play that, you have Reflect. There's just so much going on as a Demonology Warlock that it's actually really good to have. But I'll just sum it up. If you want the healing, go Mortal Coil. If you want the mobility, go Demonic Circle. Level 90 talents, guys, you have Soul Conduit, Inner Demons, and Grimoire Foul Guard. So, in my opinion, you never want to be going Grimoire Foul Guard. Cost a Soul Shard, so it's not too great, but it's only 1 Soul Shard, I guess. 2-minute cooldown, which is a really long cooldown, and basically what this spell does is it summons an additional Foul Guard that runs to the enemy, stuns them, and deals 25% increased damage. Personally, I don't like it, because obviously your pets, at the end of the day, including your original Foul Guard, including your Dreadstalkers, they all can get Ice Novaed or slowed or banished, for example. So playing Foul Guard, this Grimoire Foul Guard, in my opinion, is just not worth it right now, so I personally wouldn't recommend it. Soul Conduit, used to play this quite a bit, but in my opinion, I feel like when you have Power Siphon, it's on a 30-second cooldown, and you already passively recharge a load of Soul Shards. So I feel like, if you go Haste, then you don't really need to play Soul Conduit, because you're already generating a load of Soul Shards, and therefore allowing you to get your hand of gold downs out faster. I feel like Soul Conduit might slow you down in regards to your burst. What I mean by that is you might start to overcap on your Soul Shards, aka if you use Soul Conduit and say you're already at 3 Soul Shards, and then you actually get a proc and it generates 1 or 2, then you might actually start to mess up your rotation. So inner demons, I really love playing because every 12 seconds, like I mentioned at the start of this video, you summon an imp to fight for you, therefore allowing you to use your power siphon all the time. If you go for CC and haven't had the chance to actually try and get your shards up and generate your wild imps, then basically Inner Demons is going to allow you to passively recharge your imps and also has a 10% chance to summon an additional demon to fight for you for 15 seconds. This demon hits like a truck. If you manage to get the proc and actually, get the chance to summon this demon and it gets on the enemy, it can actually do a ton of damage, especially when you line it up with your Tyrant. So works out like a charm, man. I personally would recommend Inner Demons, but I could see why people like Soul Conduit. Level 100 talents, you have Sacrifice Souls, Demonic Consumption, and also Nether Portal. So basically, I'll talk about Nether Portal first. I personally don't like it. It's a cost a soul shard to use, which isn't too bad, but it's on a 1.6 second cast time. Therefore, the enemy can actually interrupt you. And it's on a 3-minute cooldown. I was going to say 30 minutes for a second. It's on a 3-minute cooldown, so it doesn't line up with your Tyrant, unfortunately. So it kind of sucks. Personally, I don't like it. Sure, the demons are going to hit for a ton. But in my opinion, the enemy can just run away. They can slow your pets. They can get away a lot quicker. And it's a 3-minute cooldown, and only lasts for 15 seconds. I personally wouldn't recommend it. Sacrifice Souls, if you don't know what this does, Shadow Bolt and Demon Bolt deal 4% additional damage per demon you have summoned. So, the more demons you manage to summon, the more imps you get out, your Tyrant for example. Just the more pets you have out, the more your Shadow Bolt and Demon Bolt is going to do. Obviously, if you play Power Siphon, it's going to work out nice, don't get me wrong, could be ideal. However, I just feel like playing big Tyrant build with your Demonic Consumption is really good. If you don't know what Demonic Consumption does, basically allows your Tyrant to absorb every wild imp that is around him, and consuming them and getting a damage buff. So it's really good. It allows your Tyrant to hit for a truck. Also, if you play Supreme Commander, when your when your Tyrant actually expires, you gain 1.9k intellect. Not sure if it's nerfed in PvP, but obviously the more traits you have of this, the more intellect you're going to have when your Demonic Tyrant expires. So if you pair that up with Vision of Perfection as the major, basically your spells and abilities have a chance for you to summon a Tyrant to fight for you, lasting for a couple seconds. And just think about it, every time that Tyrant expires, right, he's going to also give you an intellect buff. So obviously you're going to be having a load of passive damage and burst damage from your Tyrant. Also, don't forget, if you play Demonic Consumption, like I literally just mentioned here, what he's going to do is every time you have passive imps, that Tyrant's going to absorb the imps around him too. So playing Vision of Perfection actually helps out a ton here. Also, if you play Baleful Invocation, every time you summon a Demonic Tyrant, whether it's from your Vision of Perfection or your baseline Tyrant, then you're going to actually allow your Tyrant to hit more with his Demon Fire, and he will instantly generate 5 soul shards for you. So it works out like a charm, man. In my opinion, it's just really good to play Demonic Consumption right now, and it's just so good. Obviously, Vision of Perfection as well makes your Demonic Tyrant on a shorter cooldown, so it's just so much nicer. That's why I would recommend Demonic Consumption. Alright guys, so I'm going to talk to you about my PvP talents. This is where it can get a little bit confusing for new players, so I just want to try and make it as a basic guide as possible, basically. Make it easy to understand and just try and, teach you what PvP talents are the best to use right now. So it all depends on your race in regards to your medallion. If you're a human, usually what you would do is play Relentless. Maybe if you're an orc as well, just so you can reduce the incoming CC effects that are, channeled on you. But because I'm a gnome, I have my escape artist, so I can get out of, Ice Novas and Roots, so it works out really good. So I like using Gladiator's Medallion purely for the fact that it allows me to control the pace of the game, right? If I'm in a full kidney shot by a rogue in Smoke Bomb, I can instantly trinket. If I'm playing Demonic Circle away, or Gateway away, go to my healer, I'll be fine, right? If I'm getting G-Pied, I can trinket, Spell Reflect with my Nether Ward, allows me to reflect that spell back to the target. So just having a trinket that allows me to get out of a CC effect just actually works out a ton. Maybe there's situations where you want to play Adaptation and Relentless, but usually I would play my Gladiator's Medallion. So when you're against casters, guys, usually this is the 3 main talents I play on a, day-to-day basis when it comes to arena against casters. So Cool Foul Hunter. If you don't know what this ability does, basically it works as like if you have your pet out. So basically if you have your Foul Hunter out, he has an interrupt, right? And because you play with your Foul Guard 9 times out of 10, right, you don't have the choice to actually use your spell lock from your Foul Guard. So what this spell allows you to do is just basically have an extra CC ability which can interrupt the enemy. For example, if the enemy's casting a Cyclone on you, like I mentioned earlier, or Greater Pyroblast, or a Chaos Bolt, or just some other effect that can be interrupted, then what you can do is use this Cool Foul Hunter ability. Foul Hunter will interrupt the enemy that you put this spell on, and it's on a 24-second cast and is instant. Also at a 40-yard range, so you can cast it while being quite far away. Really good, just allows you to interrupt certain spells that might kill you, or certain spells that might put you into a CC effect. Master Summoner, always play this. I really like it because it just allows your Dreadstalkers to be an instant cast. So for example, if you're in a 2v2 situation against Rogue Mage, right, you get one low and they're running away, you can use your Dreadstalkers. That's going to chase the enemy down, preventing them from drinking, so they won't be able to get to full HP or full mana if you're against a healer, for example. So it works out a ton. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, they can be banished or slowed or ice novaed, so in that sense, it's quite bad, but just, having passive Dreadstalkers that hit the enemy and cleave the targets down is really good. You won't get interrupted when using this ability because it's instant. So in my opinion, I think it works out really, really nicely. Also, you have Nether Ward. Nether Ward is on a 45-second cooldown, instant. Basically, what it is it's a shield that lasts for you for 3 seconds, allowing you to reflect any spells that are targeted on you. So basically, right now, guys, if a Greater Pyroblast, like I mentioned earlier, just any spell that is coming towards you, you can actually reflect this back to the original caster. So, for example, if, like I mentioned, Mage uses G-Pie or Polymorph, right, what I tend to do is use when the cast is about to go off. So as soon as the spell is about to go off, right, I pop Reflect and it will instantly reflect that back to the target, which is great. The reason why I say you want to be using this when the spell's just about to go off is because this effect, this Nether Ward, can actually be purged. So if you're going against a Shaman, a Warlock, for example, a Demon Hunter, or a Mage, just something like that, they can actually take this away from you when you use it. It can be purged. So it's really, really beneficial to obviously use it when the spell's just about to go off, so you have a 100% chance to reflect it back to the original caster, which is good. Obviously, if you're playing against a Mage, they have an ability called Spell Steal. So basically, what they do is they take this away from you and use it for themselves. So obviously just watch out for that. And I just like playing Nether Ward, man. Now, if I'm not playing against casters, obviously I will usually swap out Nether Ward or Foul Hunter here, just because obviously it works out a little bit nicer. There's people who play Pleasure Through Pain. So basically what this is, it allows you your Succubus to increase your Shadow Bolt damage and reduce the cast time. So there's some people who actually like playing Succubus, but in my opinion, don't think it's worth it right now. I don't really enjoy it. I used to play Cool Foul Lord a lot when I try and stun the enemy, so I get them into a full stun, and then my Foul Guard, my Foul Lord, if he managed to hit the enemy, can cleave them down a lot and do a lot of damage. But I don't know, it's actually really good to have if you're against melee who keep stacking on top of you. So if they keep, going on you, you can actually place it on top of you and put them in a stun and try and do a load of AoE damage. So personally, maybe there's some situations where you want to be running Foul Lord, maybe on small maps though, like Ruins of Lordaeron, or just maps in general where you think you can actually get a load of benefit from this. I wouldn't play it on a big map because they can just run away from it, right? So personally, I wouldn't recommend that. Also, Curse of Weakness is really good. As you guys know, Demonology doesn't have access to Demon Armor right now, so we are very susceptible to damage. We can take a load of damage. So in my opinion, Curse of Weakness just helps you out a ton when it comes to surviving. Allows you to put a curse on the enemy, reducing their attack power by 30 seconds for 10 seconds on a 20-second cooldown. So if you're against double DPS like Windwalker DK and Windwalker DH, you know, Arms Warrior, Demon Hunter, Arms Warrior DK, just something like that, Weakness is going to help you out a ton for survivability. So I personally would recommend that. Other than that, guys, I would say maybe there's some situations where you want to be running Singe Magic. Basically, if you don't know what this does, it basically allows you to remove the harmful effects from a target now and dealing 3% of their health in fire damage, but it's on a 15 cooldown, so 15-second cooldown, and also basically allows them to get magic effects off that target. But you have to play your imp for this to work, right? So there's situations where you might want to play your imp just because you have Singe Magic, right? Removes a harmful spell from the target, but basically if you play Singe Magic, you actually have 2 now. So you have the choice of, you know, having 2 Singe Magics. So it's not too bad, but usually you'll just use your Foul Guards, so maybe don't play Singe Magic. So I'll just sum everything up, guys. Cool Foul Hunter if you want to interrupt spells against casters or healers, for example. Master Summoner is usually your go-to. You always play this into casters and into melee. Also, you have Nether Ward, reflecting spells, so it's good if you're playing against casters, for example. And then Foul Lord if you're against melees, so you might want to swap that out for Cool Foul Hunter for Foul Lord. And then also you might want to go Curse of Weakness when going against melees. So that's you know, my opinion on the PvP talents. Sure, maybe Observer could be good, you know, maybe Tongues could be good or Essence Drain, but in my opinion, I don't really like running them as much anymore. Alright guys, now jumping straight into it, talking to you about my Azerite traits. This is where some people can get a little bit confused, but there's 2 main builds that I like to be going, or in general that I've seen that work well in PvP right now. So the first build is the Big Boy Tyrant. The Tyrant that can hit for a ton and just mount the enemy down. And then the second build I'm going to be mentioning is the Demon Bolt build. Okay, so basically if I mention the Big Tyrant build first, the ideal traits that you want to be running, as mentioned earlier, is ×3, Supreme Commander, and ×3 a Baleful Invocation. So if you don't know what Supreme Commander does, I said it before, but every time your Tyrant expires, this works with Vision of Perfection. I've tried it out myself, but I'm not sure if it's nerfed in PvP. I will have, you know, text on screen saying whether it is or not. But this is really, really beneficial right now, because if you have 3 of these, right, that's 1.9k intellect if it's not nerfed in PvP, obviously, like I said, ×3, so you're looking at upwards of like nearly 6k intellect every time your Demonic Tyrant expires. Obviously, if you get loads of Vision of Perfection procs, the more intellect you're going to gain. And also your Tyrant's on a 1.1 minute cooldown if you play Vision of Perfection here. So it just works out like a charm. I would highly recommend ×3 Supreme Commanders and ×3 Baleful Invocation. Only if you play the Big Tyrant build. Now your Tyrant can get banished, so even if you do so much ramp up, you get like 15 imps out, you know, your Tyrant's looking at like a 280% damage increase. They can just banish or stun your Tyrant and he won't be able to cast to that target, or they can line of sight him. So you want to be using your Tyrant in situations where you know for a fact they can't line of sight your Tyrant. Big maps, for example, put them in a stun, use your Tyrant, that's going to get the most value out of it. Baleful Invocation is absolutely ideal for this Tyrant build, mainly because it allows your Tyrant to deal more damage, and also instantly generates you 5 soul shards. Every time you do a Tyrant, it then gives you 5 soul shards, so you then can spend that on Hound of Gul'dan, therefore actually getting a load more imps out. So it's really, really good. I use this build, you know, in 2v2 arena, especially if I want to try and rot the enemy down like really, really fast, cleave the enemy down, just try and do maximum Tyrant damage. So it's actually really, really beneficial. I like this build a lot. Now, if you don't like the unreliability of having a big Tyrant and just relying on your Tyrant to deal the most amount of damage, then I personally would recommend the Demon Bolt. The Demon Bolt build is definitely for you. So basically, what this build consists of is ×3 Shadow's Bite. So if you don't know what Shadow's Bite is, whenever your Dreadstalkers fade away, so whenever they expire, it now increases your damage of your Demon Bolt by 5.9k damage for 8 seconds. Think about it, guys. If you have 3 of these, that's going to increase your Demon Bolt damage to upwards of, 18k damage? So that's actually really, really good to have. And this obviously, as I'm aware, works with Vision of Perfection. So obviously, no, not Vision of Perfection, sorry. I was thinking of my Tyrant for a second. I apologise for that. Basically, yeah. So every time your Dreadstalkers expire, works hand in hand with your Master Summoner, because it just allows you to get more Dreadstalkers out, because obviously you'll have a now instant cast. So it actually works out a ton. I feel that it's really, really good. Don't forget, it empowers your Demon Bolts. So it actually works hand in hand as well. Sorry, my mouse is messing up. With Power Siphon here, because obviously you actually get 2 stacks of Demonic Core, therefore getting instant Demon Bolts. So literally, you have a chance to do a ton of damage with your Demon Bolt there. Now, also with this build, what I tend to do is have 1 Baleful Invocation, because it allows you to generate 5 Soul Shards. It's just always good to have at least 1 of these, because it empowers your Tyrant, and it also allows you to have 5 Soul Shards every time you burst. You know, if you don't play with this, right, then you just lose the ability of having full Soul Shards, and I feel like it's actually a waste if you don't have 1 of these. So I'd also play with 1 Baleful Invocation, or if you feel like you want a big Tyrant along with this build, then play with 2 Baleful Invocations and then 1 Supreme Commander. So every time your Tyrant expires, then you gain 1.9k intellect for 15 seconds. So it all depends what you want to go. So basically, with this Demon Bolt build, you always want ×3 Baleful Invocation. No, sorry, ×3 Shadow's Bite. I'm getting confused right now. So let me sum it up. So basically, let me talk about the Tyrant build first, and then I'll talk about the Demon Bolt build, just so you guys don't get confused, right? Because I'm kind of muddling up my words right now. So with the big Tyrant build, you always want ×3 Supreme Commander and ×3 Baleful Invocation. That's going to allow your Tyrant to do the biggest amount of damage, therefore putting you at an advantage when it comes to mounting the enemy. Personally, I'd recommend that and play Vision of Perfection. So that's for the big Tyrant build. If you're going Demon Bolt build, you always want ×3 Shadow's Bite, just to obviously allow you to do more damage with your Demon Bolt. Then you want either ×2 Baleful Invocation, just so your Tyrant hits for a ton, and 1 Supreme Commander, just for the intellect. Or you can switch it up and go 1 Baleful and ×2 Supreme Commanders. Completely up to you. If you play Vision of Perfection, then it might be better for you to go 2 Supreme Commanders, just so you get more intellect, but that's completely up to you and what you want to do. Alright guys, now I'm going to talk to you about my essences. I feel that essences are super important when it comes to demonology right now. We don't have access to demon armor for the PvP talent, so your essences are important for both survivability and for damage. So right now, the main essence that I always use is Vision of Perfection, right? I may switch this out for another essence later, but I'll tell you which one I'll switch it out later on in this video. So basically, if you don't know what Vision of Perfection does, it basically allows your Tyrant to be on a shorter cooldown, also gives you a load of haste and versatility, and heals you whenever your Tyrant comes out. Really good. It's good for survivability, but it's really nice for damage. So basically, every time you're in combat, for example, you're doing a load of damage to the enemy, the more haste you have, the more of a chance you're going to actually proc Vision of Perfection, therefore allowing you to summon a Tyrant. And if you play the big Tyrant build, your Tyrant's going to absorb all the imps around you with Demonic Consumption, and he's going to hit for a ton on the enemy. So in my opinion, Vision of Perfection is just your go-to right now. It's so good. If you feel like you have the survivability, always play Vision of Perfection. It just works out like a charm. That's definitely like your #1 go-to right now. However, if you're in like going against Rogue Mage or like Warlock Mage, for example, you might be like, alright, since, you know, I don't have demon armor, or since, you know, I could die here, I might decide to go Conflict and Strife. Conflict and Strife allows you to just survive a lot longer because you gain more versatility. Also, it actually gives you a PvP talent. As I'm aware, it actually gives you Nether Ward, so it actually frees up a space in your PvP talents. So if you're against, like, you know, double DPS, for example, you get Nether Ward for free, so therefore it opens up an extra slot for you to play Weakness or for you to play Foul Lord, for example. So actually works out really good when conserving space as well. So Conflict Strife is really, really good, just gives you a load of versatility. However, it has in fact been nerfed in PvP, but in my opinion, having it as the major just helps out a ton, gives you an extra PvP talent, and it works really well. So if you want to survive a lot longer, Conflict and Strife is your go-to for the main slot. If you think you're really good at surviving and want to put a lot of pressure on the enemy, then always use Vision of Perfection. Now, I'll probably get a load of comments. You guys are thinking, why don't you use Lucid Dreams? I used to use Lucid Dreams quite a bit, but in my opinion, I just don't think it's good anymore. Obviously, it gives you a load of Soul Shard regeneration, but you just get locked out too much in PvP for actually, you know, for you to actually benefit from this. So, personally, I wouldn't recommend it. The best two major ones is Vision Perfection and, obviously, Conflict and Strife. For the minor ones, guys, Breath of the Dying is always go-to. It allows you to basically strike the enemy, dealing like 28k fire damage, and it also heals you. Also gives you 10 corruption resistance, allows you to put on more corruption, which is always good in PvP. Lucid Dreams, if you're not playing that as the major, which I wouldn't recommend anyway, then I would play Lucid Dreams just for the heal, the Soul Shard regeneration, and the versatility. Like I mentioned, you want to be stacking a load of verse as Demonology, so just having the survivability from Lucid Dreams really good. If you're not playing Conflict and Strife as the major, you always want to be playing it as the minor, just as survivability as I mentioned. Sure, you might get away with swapping Conflict and Strife or Lucid Dream out for Iris, just for the haste, if you play big haste build, or maybe for like Blood of the Enemy, but personally, this is the build you always want to be running, swapping out Conflict and Strife for the major, and Vision of Perfection for the minor, so, or vice versa. So always you want to be running Breath of the Dying for the minor, Lucid Dreams for the minor as well, and then also Conflict and Strife for the minor. If you're playing Conflict and Strife as the major, then you play Vision of Perfection as the minor. So if I just sum it up, guys, best two major right now, 100% Vision of Perfection and Conflict and Strife. And the best minor ones is Breath of the Dying, Lucid Dreams, Conflict and Strife, and Vision of Perfection. And sometimes you can also play Iris. Completely up to you, but that's personally what I recommend. You can play Flame maybe, but I don't know, just for the healing. But I don't know, some situations in like twos it might work, but in my opinion, the build I've already mentioned is far better. So that's personally what I would recommend right now. Alright guys, I'm going to talk to you about my stat priority, including gems and enchants, so I really do hope you enjoy it. So moving on to that, basically right now, if you don't know, I really like to stack haste on my gear, right? I've seen a load of people basically mix matching, stacking haste and versatility, and I actually think that's the play right now. If you look on the 3v3 ladder, like I mentioned earlier, or the 2v2 ladder, the high-rated demo locks, they always tend to go a different build from one another just because it suits their playstyle, right? Some people like to go full of versatility just so they can survive a lot longer. Some people like going a mix of haste and versatility just so they have the damage and they have the survivability. And then there's some people who just go full haste for the most amount of damage possible. Now, what I would recommend is going a mix of haste and versatility. So if you're at low Versa like I am, then you might want to be stacking Versa so you have more, damage reduction. Because I, play Affliction quite a lot, I usually go haste. That's why I got haste enchants and haste on everything. Quick navigation on my weapon. Haste enchant on my 2 rings. Also 120 intellect is key for gems because you want at least one of them to increase your intellect by a lot. And then also I got 50 haste gems, on most of my gear. So the reason to why I play haste is because I like to, change it up when it comes to my specialization. I play Affliction a lot, and I also play Demo and Destro, so having haste is just, versatile. Well, not versatile, but, it's good to have it all around. However, There's some people who like going versatile navigation on their weapon, enchant and versa for the 2 rings, and also gemming versatility as well, along with 120 intellect, just so they can survive a lot longer, because obviously we don't have demon armor. So it all depends on what you want to go. Personally, I would recommend probably going versatility, just because we don't have the big survivability as a Demonology Warlock. So you might want to enchant everything Versa and gem everything Versa. But when it comes to corruptions, you might want to like mix match. But I'll talk to you about that now, guys. So moving on to corruptions. At the moment, got 37 corruption, total corruption. I have 12% haste stamp, 9% haste stamp, a 12% haste stamp, a 6% haste stamp, 6% Versa Amp, a 12% Versa Amp, and a 1275 haste proc. So at the moment, usually... Oh, I didn't mention, guys. Sorry, I mentioned before in my stat priority, I mentioned that you should be going really haste, versatility, mastery, then crit. If you don't like the haste build, then you want to be going versatility, haste, mastery, then critical strike. Sorry, I completely forgot to talk about that. You know, I keep wanting to talk about corruption, so my brain's like, talk about corruptions right now, so I do apologise for that, but that is the stat priority you want to be going. I would have already put it on screen anyway for you guys to see, so it's okay. But yeah, guys, so basically 37 corruption resistance, total corruption, sorry, already gone through all of my corruptions here for you. So basically, it all depends what you want to go. Personally, I would actually mix match. So I would go like 4 haste, 12% haste stamps, and then the rest versatility, in my opinion. Just because obviously the more haste you have, the more procs you're going to get. You know, the faster you can get your hand of gold downs out, therefore allowing you to get big turrets. Whereas the more versatility you have, obviously the more survivability you have, but also it does increase your damage too, so it could be good to have loads of Versa. But personally, because my playstyle is usually stacking into haste, what I would tend to do as a Demonology Warlock is probably go 4 and 12% haste stamps, and then the rest in versatility, or maybe 5 haste stamps and then the rest in versatility. Just because I prefer haste over everything. I just feel like haste is really good, but versatility is probably one of your main stats as Demonology, just so you can survive for a lot longer. So it all depends what you want to be going. If you think you're dying a lot, then maybe you want to get rid of more haste stamps and go versatility, just so you survive a lot longer, because people do tend to go on you in 2v2 and 3v3 arena. But if you feel like you're not getting focused a lot, then stacking haste is probably your go-to right now. So let me just sum it up, guys. Maybe you want to be going like 3/4 12% haste stamp. So most of your gear 12% haste stamp, and then maybe 3 to 4 pieces you want to be going 12% Versa amp, just so you get a load of versatility. I wouldn't really recommend gushing wounds or anything like that. I just feel like the haste and versatility combo is just so much better right now. Alright guys, I'm going to jump into rotation right now, and after rotation I will talk about races. So sorry that this video is long, but I just want to give you a detailed guide. So I'm going to play this build like I mentioned earlier. This is the build I'm going to be playing right now. So what you want to do is always have your Foul Guard out, in my opinion. Foul Guard just works out a ton. So what you tend to do, you know, is instantly, I know some people use Power Siphon just because you already have 2 imps, so you get a load of value. Or people use Dreadstalkers. It's completely up to you what you want to do. But usually what you do, Power Siphon into Demon Bolt. That would give you full Soul Shards. What you can then do is Dreadstalkers. Use your Soul Strike into a Demon Bolt proc, into a Hand of Gul'dan, burst, use your Shadow Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan because you're at 5 Soul Shards, Shadow Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, use your Demon Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt, Soul Strike, Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt, Tyrant comes out now, he's at a 240% damage out increased, then you want to be rinsing and repeat. Also use your Demonic Strength, that's going to allow your pet to obviously Foulstorm. He can Foulstorm again if you don't use my macro. So it's actually really, really decent. So let me just sum up again, because obviously I know that can be very overwhelming. I just went through it so quick, so you probably, you know, didn't get the full idea. So basically what you want to be doing, let me just wait for all these buffs to expire, just so I don't have, you know, my demonic core up here, just so I can try and do a lot of damage for you guys. So what I tend to do is you Power Siphon first global. So pop Power Siphon, pop Demon Bolt. That'll put you at 5 soul shards usually. Then you spend your soul shards on Hand of Gul'dan. Then you call your Dreadstalkers, Soul Strike, and always use your Shadow Bolt until you get about 5 soul shards. Hand of Gul'dan, use your Demon Bolt procs. Hand of Gul'dan, Soul Strike, Demon Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt, Demonic Strength, Hand of Gul'dan. Pop your Tyrant out when you hit around 15 imps, I would say, and then basically just spend your Shadow Bolt on your Hand of Gul'dan, and also make sure you are using your Dreadstalkers and your Hand of Gul'dan whenever possible, you know, when it's up. 270% increase in my Tyrant. He's hitting for a ton here. 1.6 million damage he's doing right now. Maximum hit he's done is 135k. So, and when your imps are about to expire, you can use Implosion. Well, personally, I wouldn't recommend it that much anymore because, oh, see, this is the pet I just summoned. You see that? I summoned it from Inner Demons. Therefore, how much did he do here? Here, he was 5th on damage, and he was only up for a couple seconds, right? So it actually works out a ton. He did a load of damage there. So having the proc is really, really nice, man. But, so that is basically the rotation. So you always Power Siphon first into a Demon Bolt. That puts you at 5 soul shards. Into a Hand of Gul'dan. Demon Bolt, Dreadstalkers, Soul Strike, Burst, Demonic Strength, Shadow Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt, Shadow Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, Tyrant comes out, Soul Strike, Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, Demon Bolt, Hand of Gul'dan, Soul Strike. This is where your Dreadstalkers come out, and you basically just rinse and repeat. So every chance you get, you want to be using your Dreadstalkers and your Soul Strike. If you ever get a proc on your Demon Bolt, you want to be using that and making sure you don't overcap your soul shards, because if you do, then you're going to lose out on a load of Hand of Gul'dan imp damage, so you want to be saving that. Also, I wouldn't recommend, like I said, using Implosion, purely for the fact that if you play Vision of Perfection and Demonic Strength, your Tyrant has a chance to obviously proc. Therefore, what it's going to allow you to do, well, allow him to do is, you know, absorb all of your imps around you. So if you use Implosion, your imps are going to expire. And if you got a Vision of Perfection proc, then he has no imps to actually, you know, consume. So personally, I wouldn't recommend using Implosion that much anymore. You can if you only have a couple imps, but like I said, wouldn't recommend it. You want to be using your Tyrant when you have around 15 imps. That's going to be the most beneficial because they start to fade after a while. So it's really, really nice. And obviously, if you play more haste, the better it's going to work. So the rotation is kind of, you know, confusing at times, but basically what you want to do is just generate enough soul shards to spend it on Hand of Gul'dan. When you hit 15 imps or around there, you know, 13 to like 17, then that's where you pop the Tyrant and rinse and repeat. So it's quite simple when it comes to that. Alright guys, so the last thing I want to cover here is in fact races. So I really do hope you enjoy this guide so far. So on Alliance side, there's 3 races that I've mentioned before, and I think that they're the best demonology, you know, best races for demonology right now. So humans are very, very good when it comes to warlocks. They have a racial called Every Man for Himself. Basically acts as a trinket, therefore allowing you to play Relentless in PvP, reducing the CC effects coming onto you by 20%. Really good. It allows you to play Relentless, obviously, and doesn't make you, you know, forced to play the trinket, so works out a ton. I feel like they're probably one of the strongest races when it comes to Alliance right now, but personally I play what I just enjoyed the look of and what I feel confident on. I play a gnome, so obviously gnomes are really good for warlocks because they have the ability called Escape Artist. This allows you to get out of roots such as Ice Novas, you know, just any root or slow effect that is on you, you can actually use Escape Artist to get out of it, and it's on a 1-minute cooldown. Works out a ton. You know, I really do like gnome warlocks. I find that they're really, really good right now. So humans and gnomes are really, really decent. Also, the third and final one for Alliance, I personally would say would be Dwarf, just because their stone form is really nice for, you know, because it allows you to remove like dots and everything. Just allows you to get rid of bleed effects on you and just allows you to take like less damage. So as a Demonology Warlock, obviously you need the most survivability as possible. So obviously being a dwarf actually helps you out with that for stone form. On Horde side though, Orc is very, very good. It's kind of similar to Human. However, they have a racial that allows you to get spell power basically every time you burst. 2-minute cooldown called Blood Fury, and it works hand in hand when you burst. Your tyrant's on a 1-minute cooldown, so you can get 2 tyrants for every 1 Blood Fury technically, but it's a 1.1 minute cooldown for your tyrant, so there might be a little bit of overlap, but it just allows you to get solid burst damage. They also have a CC reduction effect in PvP, so they can't be CC'd for too much longer. Works out so well, man. That's why I'd recommend it. And it also allows you to play Relentless if you want to play it too. Also, Undead, they have Will of Forsaken, allowing you to get out of charms and CC effects. So personally, I like Undead as well. You play Relentless sometimes with them, but Trinket is usually what you would play. I like Undead. I used to be Undead as well. But personally, Orc and Undead are really good right now. Also, Trolls are good. I know some people don't like playing Trolls, but their Berserking racial gives you a load of haste, therefore allowing you to get so many procs out and just deal a ton of damage to the enemy. So having the haste, the extra haste is just so good right now. So I sum up, guys, we have on Alliance side, you have Human, you have Gnome and Dwarf. On Horde side, you have Orc, Undead and Troll. But guys, that is it for my guide today. I really do hope you enjoyed it. I apologize for messing up the stat priority, but I did obviously cover it as well in the corruption, so I do apologize for that. But I feel like this was an up-to-date 8.3 demo lock PvP guide that was actually suitable for new players and experienced players, so really do hope you enjoyed it. Obviously, if you did enjoy this build and have played it, let me know in the comments section down below of this video, telling me whether it's a good build and whether it was useful. But guys, I've been Xrathis. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you if you made it to the end of this video, and just thank you in general for watching today. I just want to say, obviously, a huge thank you. You guys are awesome. This will be the last PvP guide for now in 8.3 for my Warlock, because I've now covered Affliction, Destro and Demo, so all 3 specializations have in fact been obviously covered. But guys, I've been Xrathis. If you did like this video, then obviously make sure to leave a like, comment down below, and also subscribe to the channel. And guys, I will catch you in the next video. Alright guys, I've been Xrathis. Catch you in the next one. So, peace!